Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Please, if you are new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment and share. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in. So today I'll be showing you how to make this structured dress. Okay, so this was what my client sent me, but she wanted it longer, so I went ahead to make the longer version of that. So this is what we'll be using. I'll be using a fabric. So I use like it's a thick fabric, so I don't know how to explain it. It's like a cotton fabric. So that's the lining, and we need a paper to draft. So now the first thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to draft on my paper. So I already went ahead to draw a straight line which will serve as my starting point. Then I'm going to go ahead to take my dress measurement. So the first thing I'll take is the length of my dress, which I'll be using a total of 36 inches. But because I want to fold, like for the hemming, the lining is going to be shorter, so I'm using 37.5 inches. Okay, the lining is shorter than the dress, so I'm using 37.5 inches for the length. So by the time I'm done, I'll still have that 36 inches, okay, or 35.5 inches. So now I'm taking my shoulder to waist measurement, which is 17 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead to mark 17 inches, and I'm just going to go ahead to draw a straight line. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is take my waist to hips measurement, which is 8.5 inches. So that's what I'm taking, 8.5 inches. And I'm going to go ahead to connect the line like so. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to take is to take my shoulder divided by 2. That's 8 inches divided by 2. Then 3 inches for the standard neckline measurement. Okay, I'll come down by 1 inch on the shoulder, then connect like so. Okay, so to get the armhole, your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So whatever you have, that's what you're going to mark. Okay, then I'm just going to go ahead to draw a straight line. So it depends on what you have. So my one is 40 divided by 6 plus 1.5. That was why I marked 8.25. So I'm just going to go ahead to connect my line like so. After connecting the line, I'm going to connect my armhole line like so. Okay, just connect it. After connecting it, I'm going to go ahead to take my under bust measurement, basically from your shoulder to under your bust. So when taking this measurement, it's advisable where you wear your tube or your bra. So in my case, from my shoulder to under bust is 14 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead to mark 14 inches. Okay, after doing that, I'm going to do my shoulder to bust point, which is shoulder to nipple. That's 10.5. So I'm marking 10.5. Then I'm just going to go ahead to connect my lines like so. So mind you, this dress is a burstier dress. Okay, so now I'm just labeling it: bust point, under bust, waist, hips, and the dress length, and also the armhole line. Okay, so this cloth is a burstier dress. So now I'm just going to mark the middle point of my armhole and come inward by 3/4 of an inch. So I'll take my bust divided by 4, which is 10 inches. Then I'm just going to go ahead to use my armhole curve to connect like so. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to determine is the opening of the cleavage. So I'm going to come down by 7 inches for my opening. Okay, I'll just mark 7 inches. Okay, so if you want it lower, you can mark 8 or 9 inches, but no much, I don't want much cleavage showing. So then I'm taking my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 8 divided by 2, that's 4 inches. So I'll take it all through from the cleavage opening all the way down. Okay, like I said, this is like a bustier dress. Okay, so now after doing this, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to mark a 0.75 on both sides of the under bust, the waist, the hips, and the dress length. So I'm going to mark 0.75, and I'm just going to connect it from the under bust to the dress length or the hem length. Okay, then after doing this, I'm just going to go ahead to use my armhole curve to connect it to the bust point. Okay, you connect it to the bust point, and also on that cleavage point, I'm going to take about 0.75 also on both sides, and you can decide to take 1 inch, sorry, on both sides. That's totally fine. Okay, so I think I used 1 inch on both sides. So now I'm just going to connect using my curve. So I'm just going to take my body circumference measurement. So my bust divided by 40 is 10 inch, which I already marked, plus whatever you have on this point, which is about 0.75. So I'm going to return it back. Also, I'll do that for the waist. My waist divided by 4 is 7.5. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. Plus whatever you have on this point. Basically, I have about 1.5 inches. I'm going to go ahead to return that. I'll go ahead to do the same thing for my hips. So my hips divided by 4 is about 11 inches, which is 44 divided by 4 is about 11 inches. Then I'm going to add extra 3 inches depending on how you want it curvy. But first you have to return your dart, which is about 1.5. Then you add your extra 3 inches, or you can use 2 inches, and you can use 4 inches depending on how wide you want it to be. But I would advise you use 3 to 2 inches. But if the person wants is really wide, then you can go above that. But for me, 3 inches to 2 inches is actually really fine. So whatever I have on my hips line, I'm just going to go ahead to take that same thing on my dress length. So just make sure what you have, the total of what you have on your hips line. Then you're going to go ahead to transfer it to the hem line, which is the dress length. Then just mark it. Then you're just going to go ahead to connect your lines. So you connect your bust to waist with maybe your curve or your straight shoulder, whichever way. Then you connect your waist to hips, and you connect the hips to the dress line, okay, or the hem line. So because I don't want a sharp edge on the hip line, so I'm just going to go ahead to use my curve to connect so it's not sharp. So now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead to do is to the wideness of the armless sleeve. So I'm using just 1 inch wideness, okay. So that's basically the sleeve strap. Let's call it the sleeve strap. So I'm using just 1 inch. Then after doing this, I'm just going to go ahead to add allowance. So I'm adding about 1.5 inch allowance. So I'm just doing this because I don't want to start adding allowance on the dress itself. So I'm just adding my allowance all through. So I'm just connecting it like so. So just like we did earlier, you use your curve also to smoothen the line. So also on the armhole line, just take ½ inch allowance all through. So I'll suggest you take your measurements, but because I already know, that's why I'm not doing that. So I'm taking ½ inch allowance all through the armhole to the neck, okay. So after doing this, I can now go ahead to cut out my pattern paper. So be careful while cutting this part out, especially. So just cut out. So this is going to be for the front. So for the back, I'm just going to go ahead to tape down my paper together like so. Just tape it down together because I'll be using this to cut out the back piece. So just use your paper tape to tape down the papers together so we can put this on the fabric directly. So as you can see, I'm just putting it on the fabric directly. So I'm just marking 1 inch allowance for the zip. So basically that's just it for the back. So I just placed it on the fabric directly, then used on the center back, added on the center front, added 1 inch allowance, which is out for the back. So I came inward by 1 inch on the waist, then connect like so. I always do this on my videos to erase bulges. So if you have been watching me from time to time, you know that on the waistline you should come inward by 1 inch and connect like so to erase bulges. So that's for the back. So for the front, I'm just going to go ahead to remove the paper tape, okay, so I can place it on my fabric individually. So now for the front, for the joining, how we join the front together, I didn't have ½ inch allowance on this side. As you can see, I'm adding ½ inch allowance on the side. So I'm just notching those points, okay. So also for the second side, I'm going to add ½ inch allowance on that side. We'll be joining together in the nipple point. As you can see, in that nipple point at the front, I'm adding ½ inch allowance. So now I'm just drafting it on the lining also. So for the lining, because we want it longer, so I'm marking 2 inch. Okay, so basically the lining will be 2 inches shorter than the main fabric. Okay, because we don't want it showing at all. I said that earlier, so that was why I used excess of 37.5 inches instead of just using 35.5 or 36. Okay, so it has to be 2 inches shorter than the main fabric. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. So just place your front piece also on top. This is the other side of the front piece, and fold, mark 2 inches, then you fold it, then you cut. So now I'm just going to try to mark 2 inches. Okay, so I just fold it and pin it down, and also mark 2 inches here, fold it and pin it down. So just watch me closely while I do that. So I'm pinning it down, then I'm just going to try to cut it out. Like I said, I'm doing this because I don't want the fabric and the lining to be the same length, and I don't want it showing. It gives it this kind of neatness after sewing. So please, if you are working with a fabric that is not thick, I would advise you use a paper stay on the lining and even on the fabric. But because my own fabric is very thick, so that was why I decided not to use a lining or a paper stay. Do you get? Well, if you are working with a softer fabric like a crepe fabric, or if you are using Mikado, you might not necessarily need to use that, only if you want something thick. So I'm just doing that for the back also. Mark 2 inches, then connect. Okay, mark 2 inches, then you pin it down, then you go ahead to cut it out. So yeah, that 2 inches you are coming up for to cut out the lining, you have to do it for both the front and for both and the back also. So that's just it. So I'm just going to go ahead to cut it out. Okay, so this is me cutting out the back piece. Please be careful while cutting it too, because me, I'm actually trying to maximize my lining. That's why I'm really careful. So if you have more fabric, you have to be careful, but at least you don't have to manage like me. Okay, so now after cutting it out, I'm just going to go ahead to join the front piece. So this is the front piece. So join this front piece together. I'm just pinning it down, also the other side. So this is the joining part I'm talking about, adding ½ inch allowance, because we didn't add it on the paper. So this is for the lining. I'm going to go ahead to do the same, join it by ½ inch. Then after joining it, this is what we have. So I'm just going to go ahead to place my lining and the fabric right on top of each other. Then I'm going to go ahead to sew up the neckline, the side, and also sew up this part by ½ inch. Okay, that's why I left 1.5 inch allowance, because I'm not going to weave the inner part. Okay, so now so I just left a part open so I can draw everything out. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead to draw everything out. Then this is what I have after drawing everything out. So this gives it like a very neat finishing. So I'm just going to go ahead to do the same for the back. So place the lining and the main fabric on top of each other. Then I'm going to sew up the shoulder, the neckline by ½ inch. Okay, and also the sides by ½ inch. Okay, so this part, so the lower part, I'm also going to sew it up by ½ inch. So like I did for the front also, that was what I did for the front. So also I'm going to go ahead to cut a belt, because I want a belt. So I'm using about 31 inches long and 5 inches wide. So this is for both sides. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead to fold it, then sew it up by ½ inch. So now this is what we have for the front. I already went ahead to iron it and turn it out, and I'll just place the strap of both sides. Okay, so I advise you place it on the waistline, because that's where I always place mine. Then I'll place the back directly on top like so. I'll place the other side of the back also directly like so. So if you are looking at the lower part of this dress, you can see that there's an excess. So that was why we made one shorter than the other. And also you sew up the shoulder line by half of an inch, okay, and you sew up the sides by 1 inch, okay. You know, we already took our allowance was 1.5 inch, but because you already used half inch earlier to sew it up, that's why we're going to use 1 inch. So for the pocket, I'm using about 4.5 inches wide, and for the length, I'm using 3.5 inch on fold. So I went ahead to sew up the sides by half of an inch, and I'm just going to go ahead to turn it out, okay. Then I'm going to take to the pressing iron, then make sure I properly press both pockets so I can place it directly on the cloth. So to place the pocket, I came downward by 13 inches, 14 inches on this point, okay, I mean 14 inches. So I'm just going to mark a straight line. So by the time I place my pocket and sew it up by half of an inch, it will still come back to that 13 inches. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So I went ahead to, you can go ahead to sew it down or just iron it down, okay. Then I'm just going to go ahead to place my button, as you can see. So then I'm just going to go ahead to sew up the back, okay, from this point to this point. Then the rest will be the zip, okay. So after sewing, this is what I have. Please, if you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment and share, and see you in the next one. Bye.